this video for people that don't believe forensic astrology is real. Okay, this is a case that I worked on as an astrologer, the Kenneth DeHart case. If I'm not mistaken, on February the 8th of 2024, he was driving down Sevierville Road in Maryville, Tennessee. A couple of police officers pulled him over, and I don't know, maybe they were suspicious of him or something, and maybe he didn't want to be searched. I don't know. But he shot 2 police officers, and one of them died. I heard about the case, and so I did a chart, an astrology chart, what's known as a horary chart, which is kind of like when you ask the universe a question and generate a chart based on that question, the time, date, and location of that question. And I determined that they were searching in the wrong place. I heard that they were searching for him in Maryville, which is about 20 miles from Knoxville. And I felt, according to what I saw in the chart, he was in Knoxville and actually kind of close to where I was at the time. So, on February the 11th, 2 days before he was captured, I sent a timed and dated text to police. As you can see, this is the, I think it's Crime Stoppers, I can't remember, but anyway. And I kept screenshots of this. And I introduced myself. I told them I'm an astrologer. It was regarding Kenneth DeHart. I explained to them that I used astrology and other divination methods in order to try to figure out where criminals, missing people, that sort of thing, in order to try to figure out where they are. I explained that I'm not always right, that, I don't win them all, but this particular case I felt very strong about. And so I told them that they would find him near Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in an abandoned house. He was found on February the 13th on Linden Avenue, which is a street that runs parallel to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Like, they're probably not even a quarter mile apart. And if I'm not mistaken, he was walking out into the backyard. He had been staying in an unoccupied home, for lack of a better word, an abandoned house. And I saw this in the astrology, and I shared that with law enforcement. Now, why didn't I get credit for any of this? Why is this not a well-known thing? Number one, this is the Bible Belt. People hate astrologers here. They hate any kind of divination. They hate tarot. They hate, they think it's all witchcraft, and that, people like me are just terrible people. And, whatever. I don't know what to say about that. I just know that I was right about where he was, and I was right 2 days before he was found. There's no disputing the time and dated text. Now, of course, when I called them to tell them I'm the one that sent you the text telling you where he was, of course they hung up on my face. Of course there wasn't a reward. Of course I got treated the way I always get treated when I try to help police find a missing person or a fugitive. I get brushed under the rug, whatever, because there's so many people that don't believe in what I do. I don't care. I keep doing it. I've been at this since I was 11 years old. I've been hitting the astrology books. And I'm never going to stop. This is my thing. And I'm pretty good at it. Like I said, I don't win them all, but I'm pretty good at it. So I'll go on with the rest of this text. For the sake of continuity, I'm going to read this part. Kenneth may be in Knoxville, Tennessee with a female. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to the next slide. For the sake of continuity, I wanted you to see that part so that you wouldn't think that I was doing something weird. So this is the rest of it, where I left off in Knoxville, Tennessee, with a female named Diana. Now this part did not come out. I don't know what the word Diana had to do with it. I got it from an asteroid that was on the fourth house cusp. That part hasn't come out yet. But then I go into possibly in an abandoned house. Okay. Now here's where I give the location. Notice this is still the same number. Okay. Inner city area. Pisces placements show dilapidated areas, areas with concentration of minorities such as MLK, Catalpa, Ivy Avenue, Fern Street, whatever. Okay, I did not mention Linden, but all of these streets are very close together. Okay, so like I said, within a quarter mile of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard is where he was found. He was found, if I'm not mistaken, at the 2600 block of Linden Avenue. So I'm alleging that they read my text and acted on my tip. And they're alleging that they found him using cell phone records and that sort of thing. So we can both go back and forth and allege all day. It doesn't matter because I know what the truth is. And the truth is, forensic astrology is real. And I have the timed and dated text to prove it. And you can look up the story and you'll find out that he was captured 2 days after this text was sent. This is a case that I solved actually without mapping. And so now that I know how to map, I wanted to see how it mapped out. The case was about Kenneth DeHart, and he was pulled over on Sevierville Road in Maryville, Tennessee, and he shot 2 police officers, and one of them died, unfortunately. And so he ran, and the police looked for him for a few days. And after I heard about it, I did a chart, and I determined that he was not in Maryville where I heard that they were searching. He was in Knoxville, according to what I could see. I'm sorry, in the chart. But they eventually caught him. This happened on February the 8th of 2024, and he was captured on February the 13th of 2024. I sent a timed and dated text to police on February the 11th, 2024, 2 days before he was captured, telling them that I felt that he was very close to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in East Knoxville, and they found him on the street that runs parallel to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard on Linden Avenue. And I told them he would be in an abandoned house, and they found him walking outside into the backyard, and the house that he was in was abandoned. So, but I just thought that this method would have been so much easier, okay? Because here is here is Sevierville Road in Maryville. I have that pen right there. Okay, and sorry, I need to zoom back out. Okay, and where he was found, I'm looking, okay, there's the Neptune line highlighted right there. And then here is looking for the descendant. Okay, so these lines, the descendant, which of course represents the bad guy, the criminal, the murderer, whatever, and the Neptune line, both crossed Linden Avenue. They both went through Linden Avenue. And and that's the Neptune line. Okay, and those markers up there are Linden Avenue. The beginning of Linden, the end of Linden, and the two in the middle is the 2600 block. And that's kind of where the Neptune line is going through. And also, the chart started, I think, at 19 degrees Virgo. And so I put a 19-mile radius on it, and he was found within 19 miles. He was found actually almost, at the border of the 19-mile radius. So I just thought that that was very interesting as far as this mapping goes. I was able to, I guess, solve it without the mapping, but the mapping, I think, would have made it easier, especially if I had been looking at the descendant. I just think this method could be faster for a lot of astrologers. And so I have just been pulling my hair out trying to learn it. And I think it's been worth my time. As far as getting credit for solving it, of course I didn't, because I live in the Bible Belt and everybody here hates astrologers. And but I kept the timed and dated text where I told police where he was and where they would find him. And when I called them, of course, they hung up in my face. And of course, there was a reward. And of course, I didn't get a reward. But I still feel good about, being able to tell them pretty much where he was. Linden Avenue, like I said, it runs parallel. And it's maybe a quarter mile between Linden and MLK. So, yeah, I just thought it was an interesting case as far as mapping goes. So I won't go on it, but I just wanted to show you that and get your thoughts on it.